everybody in the house. Let's see. I love seeing who the first place is that puts in the chat where they're tuning in from. Let's see today who that is.
Oh, I want to see. I see the first of the month. There we go. Texas. All right.
Tennessee, I see Bellwood.
Cincinnati, Atlanta. Gosh, covering all the states. Woodbridge, Virginia. Thank you for the specific, not Woodbridge, New Jersey. Appreciate that. We got
Or
Brookhaven,
Woodbridge,
Tennessee.
Ontario.
Oh, true. Yeah, see, I don't know my Canadian geography. That's why we make such a great team, Sabrina. All right, Maryland, Calgary. Hey, all right. I was just up there a week or so ago.
El
Tried to, I tried
Paso.
to Try to talk this one up. It's an exciting one. Winnipeg. I love it. Okay. Oh, Lancaster, PA. Oh, Marlene, what's happening? Neil, how are you?
Look at all our amazing advisors. I'm so glad we have a chance. Swift Current. Where's Swift Current? Let's see. Ashley, do you know? I have no
Hopefully you're
idea.
not in the water right now. Are you in a river? Do we need to call for
Yes.
rescue?
Do we, or do you need a
Okay,
margarita,
Saskatchewan. All
depending on
right,
how
got it.
swift it
Thank you.
is?
No, I'm
It'd
stuck in
be
a swift current, but I could still type that to you guys. Wouldn't miss a spoiled agent webinar no matter what. I love it.
That's right. I love it. We have so many dedicated agents. We have agents who have actually purchased a secondary laptop in their office that they have on their TV room or their break room just to stream the webinars on a daily basis. We really
Wow.
love you guys and thank you for the support. It's Sabrina with Spoiled Agent, as you probably already know, and that's not really important. What's really important is this amazing, amazing Ashley Gibbs, who's here with me today, and the phenomenal Hilton all-inclusive properties that we're going to have a chance to literally just like sort of dream about visiting and sending our clients to. How are you today, Ashley?
Doing well, doing well. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. As always, the most engaging audience in the industry, the spoiled agents out there. Always a pleasure. Happy to present today, talking about the new look to our slides. And for those that have attended before, always good for some updates here, but just really loving the response as always from the crowd. This is excellent.
Wonderful. And I want to say hi and a shout out to our community that's on YouTube, Facebook, of course, in the US and Canada. So shout out to everyone in North America here on all our various channels, as well as LinkedIn. So we're going far and wide. Let's hope Ashley's still here next time and they don't scoop him up for some really super cool travel show because he's a great speaker and you just never know. I'm just waiting for him to say, I'm not doing the next webinar. I'm a TV show host now. I would not be surprised for 1 minute. Okay.
Yeah, if there's
So
anyone from the major media markets out here, I'm always open for adding to my portfolio. I don't see myself. This is home right now, guys. I mean, I love it here. This is great. So appreciate it.
wonderful. Well, I will. Ashley is Hilton, Neil says. I couldn't agree more. So I will let Ashley get started soon. I just want to do some quick housekeeping because sometimes we have some newer agents on. And just to remind everyone, this is being recorded. So if you'd like to refer back to it, you can do so on our YouTube channel or on one of the Hilton all-inclusive pages in either market. I'll share those links with you shortly. Of course, we do have a Q&A section and we have a chat section. If you have a question that you'd like answered, please put it in the Q&A section and let's leave that chat box for all the fun and the oohs and the ahs and the love and the Canadian flags. Hey, Jennifer, the greetings, the emojis. Of course, we can play with our reaction buttons. Let's make sure those all work. If you raise your hand, we tend not to unmute you just because of timing, and we can appreciate that you put your Q&A your questions in the Q&A because that helps Ashley also to follow up. He'll have your email and all your info there. Only if you're not on Zoom, help us out and add your email because we do have a prize today. Ashley is so phenomenal at spoiling agents. So I know he always goes back to properties and says, hey, guess what? Can we get a prize to spoil these agents? Do you want to share what that is today?
It is a 2-night stay at the Zemi Beaches all-inclusive resort in Dominican Republic. So our newest opening, the one that I will most undoubtedly tease with some photos, some descriptives of, and everything like that. But yes, very excited to spoil you. And there you go. If there wasn't already proof that there was a flow of emojis on the way, they are now all over the screen. I love it. Absolutely love it.
Yay. Okay. Well, I will let you get started, Ashley, and I'll be here on the flip side for that Q&A.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you so much, as always, for a fantastic and energetic introduction. And I am happy to once again be back here for one of these mega sessions with Spoiled Agent, an unbelievable partner of ours, giving me a great platform to interact with all of you guys from the comfort of my own home. What's not to love about that, right? So, in the interest of making sure you can see everything on the screen here, I'm going to go ahead and turn my video off. We'll come back on for the Q&A, and that way we're focused on all this beautiful scenery, and you guys get to have a little refresher on all the wonderful things happening here at Hilton All Inclusive. So, let's go ahead and get started. And if you'll notice, for those that have attended some of the sessions in the past, there's a little bit of a new look. So we're trying to update and change the look of all of our things here. And you'll notice here, nice clean map that kind of shows you what I always like to start out with, which is the overall portfolio. Now, I will throw a caveat out there. I'm really not going to get into much detail, really any detail at all, but just to mention that we do have the European product here. You'll see a few of those I'll touch on. The resorts in Turkey are very much more challenging to access from the North American continent. So I tend to not get into too much detail on those. However, there is supplementary information available through our content hub, which I will plug multiple times on this training during this presentation. So make sure you know that just because you didn't hear me talking about it here, I might not have a lot of info and Q&A on it. There is still more information there. But what we will be spending a bulk of our time on is the majority of the portfolio, which of course are our beautiful resorts in Mexico, in the Caribbean, and a few of the ones in Europe that are a bit more accessible from this side of the globe. So, with that being said, and with kind of an overview out of the way, now it's time to talk about the vibe of Hilton All Inclusive and why us. And for those also, again, that are either familiar or unfamiliar with one of my presentations, you know that I like to start out by asking the question, why Hilton All Inclusive? Why us? What makes us different than the rest of the all inclusive portfolios out there, the rest of the competition? I mean, it is an unbelievably competitive market out there in all inclusive. And we know that we're still relatively newer players to the game, but we bring with us a lot of experience in hospitality. Hilton has been around for quite some time, and that is something that I'll allude to. But to answer this question, very simply, I can sum it up with these 5 key pillars. And again, much of this for some that have attended before may seem as though it's review, but again, this is really important, and I know it's extremely important for those to understand not just where we sit in the market, but how you can help us really paint the picture for your clients and best qualify them for one of our amazing all-inclusive experiences. Because as you saw in the map slide a few slides earlier, we really don't have this overwhelmingly large portfolio of resorts, but I like to think that it's very well rounded. We really focus on more of what I would say a sophisticated family friendly approach. So while we do have those adults only and adults oriented little areas in the properties, which I will talk about in a bit more detail as we go through the resorts, this is something that is still our portfolio is very much oriented towards that sophisticated family friendly traveler, that family friendly client. So with that being said, the first of the 5 key pillars, something that I always talk about in great detail because it's important to the core of what made Hilton a global hospitality leader. So when Mr. Conrad Hilton started the company over 100 years ago, hard to believe, over a century ago, by purchasing his first hotel in the town of Cisco, Texas, I believe it was the Mobley Hotel, his entire goal was to, as he said, spread the light and warmth of hospitality all over the world. And that is something that's extremely important to us. And that is something that has allowed us to grow to this large global portfolio, and something that lends itself so conveniently, so perfectly to these all-inclusive destinations where service really does come to the forefront. So while it's easy for any supplier to say, oh, we've got the best service and all that, all I can say is culturally from the ground up at all of our properties, it's about spreading that light, the warmth of hospitality, and our team members showcase that on a daily basis. So that's the foundation of everything. That's what really put us at what now are, gosh, over 9,000 hotels globally. So we're really proud to say that philosophy and Mr. Conrad Hilton's words have lived on for many, many years, even after he's been gone. Now, as far as tangible selling points, and this is the biggest one, it's the culinary experience. This is one that I cannot stress enough because it was one of the ways for us being a newcomer to what was already an established space and all inclusive by leaning into the strengths that we have and what we're great at, and that is providing an exemplary culinary experience. Now, that means lobby bars, restaurants, little places. I mean, wherever it may be, it might be the full on a la carte sit down restaurants. It could be a great immersive a la carte lunch, or maybe some kind of a little casual grab and go, even a nice, ceviche food cart by the pool, for instance, right? No matter what, we really have taken a lot of what we know from higher end EP resorts, luxury five-star EP properties, and kind of infuse that into our all-inclusive experiences. So the elevated food and beverage that guests are going to experience, I always like to use examples of my own family. We most recently traveled to our Hilton Cancun. We'll be headed to Vallarta this November. So, I take the family along, and my kids, both my son and daughter, they're age 9 and 7 at this point. Their favorite food is sushi. They love trying new things. We always want them to experiment with different foods. So they're not necessarily the type of kids that will just want to sit down and have chicken fingers at every meal. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But that being said, we can really allow for them to experience some of these more creative menus, a little bit more, indulgent, a little bit more immersive type dining venues because they're used to going out to eat with us. And that's why I say sophisticated, family friendly really kind of hits the nail on the head. And that lends itself into the third pillar, which is entertainment, an area that we make a significant amount of investment at all of our resorts. Now, the entertainment that you see here and kind of the overall vibe, the look, the experience. We've done a lot more of the lifestyle photos, as you'll see, and we get into some of these slides. It's honestly much more of a balanced approach to family style entertainment in that, if adults want to get up early in the morning and do a sunrise yoga class, they can do it. If you've got those kids that are younger or even like the teenagers, we're going to have those immersive kids clubs filled with activities. Just got a great testimonial from an advisor that I was with at a conference last week. Had a child that was high functioning autistic, but had some really great attention, one-on-one time paid to him in our kids club in Tulum. So it was a great testimonial to just provide that experience and know that, again, that light warmth of hospitality is on display. But then it goes on into the evening, right? We don't necessarily shut the lights off at 10 o'clock at night. The lobby bars, the outdoor spaces are going to take on some vibrancy, some entertainment. You'll see things like anything from a Mayan inspired sunset ceremony, or maybe it's a silent disco or live band karaoke in our amphitheater, whatever it may be. There's entertainment for all ages, and it goes from morning until evening. Very well balanced, and again, not shutting down early at night. And that sophisticated family friendly type approach really kind of takes precedent. And then where is this taking place? Well, of course, each and every one of our resorts, truly beautiful, unique. Breathtaking is a word that we use quite often, but it's about that sense of arrival, the ambiance, and the creative character and the uniqueness to each and every one of these resorts that really complement the area in which they're located. And furthermore, one of the things that I always ask all of our partners out there, all of you listening today, anyone else, would be make sure that you understand the difference between our all-inclusive portfolio and maybe what comes to mind first in many people's mind, because Hilton has been around for quite some time. We're not just that corporate downtown city hotel. We're not just that hotel with conference space by the airport. This is something that I'm sure many of you understand. And for those of you that may not, you will definitely see that and feel that by the end of this presentation today. But we need your help in explaining that and getting that message across to your clients, to our mutual clients, so that they understand that these are truly unique and immersive resorts that are in breathtaking spaces. And the resorts themselves are filled with many of these breathtaking spaces throughout as well. And then last but not least, of course, it's events. Now, this is one that is ever increasing in importance, and we've got some great promotions to capitalize on social groups that I'll make sure I talk about here in a few slides. But the biggest thing is the fact that this is an area we are global leaders in hospitality, and it is groups of any shape and size. I mean, I have seen our resorts in the 4+ years I've been here at Hilton handle anything from multi-resort buyouts, collaborating with some of our luxury EP resorts that are part of our complexes, whatever it may be, all the way down to that, mid-sized to smaller, sophisticated, family-friendly getaway, right? Maybe you've got your multi-generational trip. Maybe you have your smaller destination wedding. Maybe it's one of those little celebratory getaways where just a bunch of guys and girls want to go down and play some golf or do some yoga or celebrate a 43rd birthday. Whatever it is, we can handle groups of every shape and size. Our groups execution is phenomenal, and we work very closely with all of the fantastic groups departments at all of our partner wholesalers as well. So there's options abound. We can secure those groups for you. And it gives me a great segue into the next section, which talks a little bit more in depth about what we have from a group's perspective. So When we get into groups and social groups, mind you, I try to focus on what is probably the larger percentage of the types of groups you'll be selling. Again, this is audience dependent, so I realize there are some of you out there that specialize in weddings. Some of you out there that might specialize in celebrations. Maybe it's those come along creative trips where, you kind of are the Pied Piper and you lead all of your clients that just adore spending time with you and you create a group around your own travels. Or maybe it's some other kind of social celebratory group, whatever it is, even those incentive groups that don't necessarily require all of the ins and outs of the meeting space. Of course, we can handle that as well. All group shapes and sizes we can handle. But of course, a majority coming from our leisure advisor market is going to be in the weddings category. So for those of you out there selling the weddings and the romance, just keep in mind that we have these 4 wonderful wedding packages available at all of our resorts across the entire Hilton all-inclusive portfolio. Starting in with the signature package, which is essentially like a lead-in category. I would by no means call it bare bones, but it's the things that you need to have a simple, beautiful wedding, whether it be on the beach or in one of our private areas. And this is something that's the start point. So guests can customize this and add to it. One of the mid-level packages here, both in price and in inclusions, would be our devotion package. And then for folks who are looking for the full soup to nuts, you get the cherish package, which comes in cherish or cherish captured, which also includes photography and a photo package and things like that. These were carefully curated packages at all different levels of the market by my great friend and current teammate, Gina Johnson. Her information also on our wonderful landing page with Spoiled Agent. But we're really proud to say that these offerings are done. And not only that, but we have very attentive wedding teams on property at each of our resorts. So you can really initiate that wedding with our teammates on property. And then you can do the group either directly through us or you could do it through one of your preferred wholesalers. Whatever you choose, whatever's best for your business, we're here to work with you and we're here to partner with you. But on top of these wedding packages, and this goes for all social groups, we have what I call the year-round evergreen promotion. So basically, what is available for social groups year-round, and it essentially breaks down like this. For the absolute highest travel season, on peak season dates, which is generally right after New Year's through that general spring break time period of early to mid-April, you get the 13th room free, or this can translate to passengers in the Canadian market. I tend to not try to use too many different slides here, but it's kind of the same math, right? Very easily, though, for most of the year, you're getting that 8th room free. So for every 7 paid rooms, 8th room is free. And we do a max comps of 5 rooms, which is really great for resorts at our level. We're at that 4.75 star, kind of level there of execution and product quality. So for us to provide 5 max comp rooms is very generous in terms of the comp structure. Then on top of that, the group leader, you're going to get 1 free upgrade to a higher room category there. And the deposit is only $100 per room on groups up to 60 rooms. There's a lot of value and ability to build in there. But it gets better because we are currently in the midst of one of our social group promotions in which not only have we reduced the deposit from $100 per room down to $500 total. So you have to put down $500 for groups up to 39 rooms, but we're also offering a 6th room free with a max of 5 comps, and it's at all of the resorts that you see on your screen right now. So this is for travel through next year. For anyone who's attended one of my webinars before, the ones that are on here now and thinking, oh my gosh, I didn't consider Hilton All-Inclusive for groups. This is one that I really like to add on. This is an offer that is available at all the resorts on the screen, available through all of your major tour operator partners as well. And the booking window is still a month long. So you can secure a group with a $500 deposit for up to 39 rooms, and they can, as long as they travel before essentially the Christmas holiday season of December 20th of next year, we're good to go. So take advantage of this. And for anyone who was considering or had some groups on the books, please, please, please don't forget that we have this amazing promotion going on. So with that being said, now it's time to get into the nitty gritty of the properties themselves, a bit of a descriptive, a bit of a qualifier, a bit of a who's this best for each and every one of the resorts within our portfolio. As I said, not going to go into detail on the ones in Turkey. However, we will talk about the rest of the portfolio and save a little bit of time for Zemi Beaches and some other reminders. Of course, that amazing Hilton Content Hub, which again, let me give it another plug. As we go back to this group promotion, you think about this for a moment, any of our active promotions and any other relevant, up-to-date information regarding things like this are going to be available for you on the Hilton Content Hub. So don't always feel like, oh my gosh, if you didn't screenshot it while I had it up on the screen, or I didn't get it in the follow-up email or whatever, Hilton Content Hub is where you can find these things as well. All right, so now getting into the properties, and again, conveniently, the last resort that I spent a personal trip with my family is featured here, and it's going to be the first one as I go through the list. It is our beautiful Hilton Cancun all-inclusive resort, just down the coast from the Cancun International Airport. Now, this is one of the, well, I would say still recently newer builds. So this was a build from the ground up a couple years ago. It joined the portfolio shortly after I joined the Hilton team. And it is a very conveniently located, more modern, contemporary Mexico-styled resort that is great for those shorter or long haul stays. It's fantastic for social groups of any shape and size. We've got an unbelievable convention center, excuse me, and I'll start to bring in the pointer here. You can see our convention center right here. This building is actually the Waldorf Astoria EP Resort, so not part of our all-inclusive collection, but really adds kind of a luxury upmarker to this entire property, giving guests the opportunity to go over and do spa treatments at the Waldorf, which, by the way, my wife definitely took advantage of. But then we also have here the main section, the Hilton Cancun here, which is kind of broken up into two different sides. So you've got the one side over here, which is going to be our adults-oriented space. So again, adults oriented, not adults only, but much more focused on that adult friendly experience. And then over here, you've got all of our family amenities from splash pad, kids club, ice cream and churro bar, taqueria. It's a really great area that's kind of self-contained for those families. So they can kind of, keep the kids close in the splash pad, have a little bit of a separate pool area here. Most of our restaurants housed right in the middle, but a couple other great things to point out. This resort's only 15 minutes south of the Cancun International Airport. Our owner here has made a significant investment in what I call a seaweed barrier, essentially, that keeps almost all of the sargassum from even reaching our shore. I saw this in action when we were down in April, and it was amazing to watch the accumulation on either side, but of our property, and how clean our beach was in comparison. So that's another great selling point, because this area of the coast, for those familiar with the Riviera Maya and South Cancun, is not exactly known for the most premier beaches in the region, but it does definitely give you that extra sense of, oh, okay, I'm not going to have to worry about the seasonality of the sargassum and so on quite as much. Another great thing, if you notice, you don't see the road, the main highway in and around the Riviera Maya anywhere in sight, because this resort's set about a 7-minute drive down our driveway, secluded amongst the mangroves. So that provides a number of different things, not just that sense of exclusivity and seclusion, but also the fact that the rooms that aren't overlooking the ocean, which is still a majority of them, are going to be facing towards the mangrove. But these beautiful garden views get a sunset along the tropical vistas. So there really isn't a bad view in the house. And this one is extremely convenient for groups of any size or multi-generational trips that like to stay kind of closer to each other. You can get from one end to the other in air-conditioned comfort. So it is definitely more modern, but lots of modern Mexican inspiration here, and some fantastic dining venues as well. Now, moving down the coast to our southernmost in the Riviera Maya, in a completely different vibe. So this is where I start to set the tone on talking about those breathtaking spaces and the uniqueness of each and every one of these resorts. So it's getting those clients, getting those folks out of the frame of mind of what they may previously have conceived as the Hilton brand, right? Because this is a beautiful, sprawling resort on a natural cove. This is an hour and a half south of the Cancun International Airport, and 50 minutes from the new TQO Tulum Airport as well. So you've really got multiple options to get the guest into this region. And what we've tried to do with this particular resort, again, another new build just a couple years ago, is to create more of that boho chic style, but convenient, kind of upmarket, all-inclusive option that really gives you close proximity to Tulum and what many people are looking for from that Instagram-worthy destination, while still having the comfort of these air-conditioned suites. Now, again, totally different layout. This one is much more open air. You still have generously sized suites, but one of the ways that we've broken this up, and again, the return of my pointer here, as we see this area, which is really segmented towards the families. Okay, so that's where we have that kids club that I had mentioned, bi-level kids club teens lounge up here. The family section has its own generously sized splash pad, another ice cream and churro shop. We've got our own buffet restaurant, a great oceanfront bar, and even some shopping in this area. Now, it does look like a fairly large resort that's spread out, but we've got convenient transportation, shuttles, golf carts running back and forth behind these buildings on a schedule of every 5 minutes or less, stopping in each of these casas or houses. One of the other great things, as you're looking at the different room categories at this property, you'll notice actually that There's rooms with family in the name. There's just rooms that will be your ocean views, your ocean front. So for instance, you'd see an oceanfront room, then you'd see oceanfront family priced very similarly. Then you might see an oceanfront enclave, and that's the first time enclave makes an experience. We'll talk about that in a moment. But what that allows you to do for this particular property in Hilton Tulum Riviera Maya is place your clients in either areas that closer to the family section, more in the middle of the resort, which again has its own segmented pools and some different restaurants like Sea Salt right here, or all the way over here closer to the enclave section, which is where our main lobby, a lot of the evening entertainment, main lobby bar, and a majority of the restaurants will be located. So you can really target where the guests are staying, but it's so easy to get around this property. And one of the other things I'll point out, back here in the background, you have our convention center. Well, guess what? This is also shared with another five-star EP luxury resort in the Conrad Riviera Maya. So the Conrad has a little, basically, is on the other smaller beach cove to the back end of where we would be looking at from this perspective. Excuse me. The Conrad also, is the brand of the spa. It gives some more of that, kind of upmarket, higher end feel for guests that want that in addition to their Hilton experience. Now, again, that is an EP non all inclusive property, but we've got a lot of flexibility there and a lot of ability for guests to experience things a little bit higher end luxury. And as you can see, lots of great restaurants, lounges, pools, and then Enclave, which we'll continue to discuss as we move through. Now, excitedly, in like a month or so, finally taking the kids to the west coast of Mexico, which I don't have a personal favorite resort, but my favorite destination and all the ones that I represent is undoubtedly Puerto Vallarta. I love, love, love this destination because it's such a great balance of, this beautiful touristic area combined with what was already a well-established, like authentic Mexican town. You get these great walking areas with wonderful nightlife and dining and entertainment. And we are in an absolutely phenomenal location, just about 8 to 10 minutes south of the romantic zone, close taxi ride to the Malecon. We're only about maybe 25 minutes from the from the PVR International Airport. And we also benefit from having one of the clearest, cleanest looking beaches. So our watercolor, very clear, great for snorkeling, kayaking, non-motorized water sports. It looks much more like the water you would expect in, excuse me, in Hawaii than it would most of the beach areas in and around closer to Puerto Vallarta town. One of the other things that's so fantastic about this resort is the fact that all of the rooms face out towards the ocean. So we sit in the middle of Bahia de Banderas, which is this beautiful kind of area that's inset a part of the Pacific Ocean, but because this resort is on the west coast in Greater Puerto Vallarta, you get to see these gorgeous sunsets. I've been there in the winter and seen whales breaching out from the water. You get this spectacular sense of arrival from the main lobby area here, this vaulted ceiling open air view where you look out over our pool complexes. And then one thing to point out as well, we have an adults only pool and a family friendly pool. So for folks who are looking for a little bit more adult experience, you can get that during the day, but it is a family friendly resort, which I would definitely recommend more for families with younger kids than I would for teenagers, just because it's not quite as big and sprawling of a property that doesn't have that teens lounge space like Cancun and Tulum. But nonetheless, we've got a brand new kids club area here. And of course, as you see on the screen, this is another one of our resorts that has the enclave experience. So again, these are separately booked room categories, and we'll talk about that a little bit more now, that are available at all of the resorts that you see here on the screen. Now, I mentioned a couple others where you'll see Zemimiches Club Azure or Domus Cool Living. What that basically means is because they're not Hilton, like it's not called a Hilton Vallarta Riviera, Hilton Tulum, it's called Zemimiches, part of our Curio Collection brand. They get a little bit more kind of creativity in terms of the branding, but essentially it's still that same very immersive, much more exclusive option. You can think of it kind of as like our club level. So there are going to be some upgraded amenities in the room, but what it's more about is that extra experience of having a private check-in, of having your own separate lounge space area to, kind of go. Maybe there's a separate pool or restaurant. The larger the resort, the more areas of exclusivity and separation there are, but it's really not that much of an upsell. So it's a phenomenal opportunity for you to not only earn major points with your clients, but you can also, of course, upgrade their experience. You just don't. You can make some more commission on this. You don't want to not mention the enclave. You don't want to not include it into a quote because God forbid the guests get down there and they're like, oh, why couldn't I get into this lounge or why couldn't I go to this pool? The enclave is a great added value. You even get access to kind of like semi private concierge, kind of like a butler light type service to help with dining reservations, which by no means are required, but it just gives a lot of, again, exclusivity, added value, just to give you a glimpse of what one of those exclusive lounges looks like. This is our lounge at the Hilton Cancun Mar Caribe. This is just for enclave guests. And I'll give another example. It's a shout out to the bartending team at the Hilton Tulum. When we were there, a year or so ago, we had the enclave experience. And I don't know if anyone on this call, we've talked about this before, and Sabrina can back me up. The Carajillo, it's a wonderful drink. It's basically like a cold brew coffee and liquor 43 mixed together over ice. This guy made an absolutely excellent Carajillo at the Enclave Bar. So I can say shout out to that. Anybody who needs, I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing alcohol in the morning. I don't think that's really something I want to promote. However, it's a nice pick me up when you're on vacation at one of our beautiful resorts. So if you haven't had it, try it. I can always type that one, spell it out in the chat, and it's a fun one as well. All right. So speaking of this one, I know I said this lounge is located at the Hilton Cancun Mar Caribe. Let's talk about it. Let's get into this resort a little bit because this one is returning back up to the northern end here in the infamous hotel zone, the famous beautiful white sand beaches and the infinite shades of blue of the water here. This is our Hilton Cancun Mar Caribe in the hotel zone in Cancun. So it's also another family friendly property with some little adults only tidbits here and there. Great exclusivity to the enclave section here, whether it be this kind of, you can see this rounded terrace where you've got, this is actually an area for enclave guests all throughout the day into the early evening. Now it's hard to see in this image, even on my bigger screen, but there are a series right here of plunge pools up on this third story terrace overlooking the ocean. This whole terrace right here is all adults only. These little plunge pools are adults only. So there is adults only space. The main pool complex kind of stretches throughout the entire front of the property. And then we have our splash pad adjacent to our kids club, a really high-end feeling teens lounge. And the majority of the restaurants are either going to be housed on this lower section out here around the main pool, or they're going to be, there's about 3 or 4 that overlook the Nachupte Lagoon to the back. Now, the design of this resort is important, and even the location. First off, location's 15 minutes north of the Cancun International Airport in what I would call it's a bit of a higher end feeling area to the hotel zone. You're not up like right on top of all the nightclubs or up near the convention center, but you're on the southern end, so you're closer proximity to the airport. Really convenient for those shorter mid-length stays. It's a great family-friendly option. As you notice, all of the rooms are either going to be facing out here with an ocean view up on the higher terrace level, or you're going to have these beachfront buildings, which are for the enclave guests. So these will be your enclave room categories. We're also very close to the Iberostars golf course. That new Hyatt Vivid complex is right over here. So it gives you a sense of where we're located in the hotel zone. But what's great about this is those restaurants I talked about that overlook the lagoon, floor to ceiling glass. There's this separation from the road. So when you're at the back of the resort looking out over the water, you can't see the main road in the hotel zone either because there's this protected green lush area behind us. So it still feels like a sense of seclusion once you're on property, that you're not right in the middle of the hotel zone, but you get all the convenience of being in the middle of the hotel zone along with that world-class beach that you see in the image. Completely untouched, by the way. I mean, that's just naturally what it looks like. So those restaurants back there, floor to ceiling glass, you can see glimpses of the sunset over the water and the lights of downtown Cancun in the distance. But this is a fantastic family-friendly option. This is one of the ones I got a great ringing endorsement from my father-in-law, who, I got him a little friends and family deal, and he's like, this is so awesome, I would have paid full price. I mean, that's a big compliment coming from him. Love hearing that, and always happy to give him a plug on these presentations as well. All right. So now we've been diving into Mexico a bit, right? That's where we've spent a lot of the time as we've discussed these resorts, but now it's time to leave Mexico and, let's take a tour around the beautiful Caribbean. Let's talk a bit about our 2 properties in Curacao, which are the Mangrove Beach and the Reef. Now, I'm going to be very specific on which ones I recommend for the clients of all of you that are attending this training today. It is really going to be focused on the Reef. These properties are right next to each other. Full share privileges for guests at the Reef with the Mangrove Beach, but I'm going to flip back and forth for a moment. First off, this property and both of these for that matter, and Curacao as a whole is very much more of a Dutch Caribbean island. So you get a lot of benefits here. Not only is it a little bit further away, it's actually south in the southern Caribbean, just off the coast of Venezuela, off the coast of South America. It's one of the ABC islands, so Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao. So this is historically outside of what they call the hurricane belt. Really doesn't contend with like the hurricane season that so many folks are concerned about. I mean, now they say the hurricane season goes from June to November. I don't put a lot of stock in that. Knock on wood, we'll be okay. But we all know about it. We've all heard about it. We all have clients that ask, right? So this is one of those areas you just don't necessarily have to worry about. But it definitely is a more casual European style experience. Now, what do I mean by that? The Dutch clientele, which is probably a vast percentage of the guests staying at both the Mangrove Beach, both these Corendon hotels, or the Riff, right? These are part of our Curio Collection brand. The Riff is more geared towards the North American clientele, but because we're still predominantly Dutch and there's not a lot of flights coming in from US and Canada, it's a much more casual experience. It's not going to be quite on the same expectation of that higher touch service that is expected in a Mexico, in a Dominican Republic. That does not mean that the staff is not wonderful. That does not mean that the food is not incredible. It just means it's a bit more of a casual experience. Now, I believe the price point reflects that. And also, Curacao is much more of like a higher standard of living island area where guests can get out and explore, get a rental car, drive around and see the island. So keep that in mind. But I would definitely recommend that you sell the Reef to your guests over the Mangrove Beach because the guests that stay at the Reef, which is a new build that was just completed last September, it celebrated approximately its 1 year anniversary at the time that we're doing this webinar. This is definitely geared more with the 24-hour room service, the more recognizable liquor brands, and full exchange privileges with the Mangrove Beach. Guests of the Mangrove Beach getting a bit more casual experience comparative to the Riff are not going to be able to come over to this side of the property. So I really would tell you to recommend this one. And then guests can always go over. They basically get the two resorts in one, which is close to 800 rooms if you add them all up. But the location here is phenomenal. You're within, I would say, about a 15-minute walk from the downtown area with UNESCO World Heritage sites and all sorts of other great dining and nightlife downtown Willemstad, or that's less than a 5-minute cab ride away. It's a great location and still relatively close proximity, 15, 20 minutes from the airport. But Curaçao's not a big island. Then getting the all-inclusive value here and then encouraging your guests to go out and explore and see more of the island is really the best of both worlds. So do not forget that these two beautiful Curio Collection properties are part of our Hilton all-inclusive portfolio. Speaking of another Curio Collection property, we also have the Domus Alice Alunda. This is an all-inclusive resort on the island of Crete, Greece. Now, of all the resorts I talked about, and I know I really discussed sophisticated, family-friendly, this is our only fully adults-only property in the portfolio. And it is seasonal. So keep in mind, this one generally opens up at the end of April, early May, and it runs through mid to late October seasonality. So if you see you're going in to price this out and guests are looking during the winter time or whatever, Crete does tend to get a bit chilly. A lot of the workers there are seasonal. They leave for maybe the mainland later in the year. So this is a seasonal property. And as you can see, I don't know if I call it boutique size, but 201 rooms, very moderate in size. There's a lot to do on the island of Crete. So, I mean, guests could stay here, get this all-inclusive experience, and still go out and explore. This is carried by a number of our different key wholesalers out there, maybe not all of them, but it's a great option for folks who are not only looking for a fantastic all-inclusive stay at one of our beautiful resorts on the island, or if they're looking to kind of bookend a larger Greek trip. This is one of the options. Now, if you want one that's family friendly, we also have the more recent addition to the collection, which is the Lindian Village. Now, this is on the island of Rhodes. I don't know as much about Rhodes, nor do I believe that there's quite as much to do in comparison to Crete. But again, it's another phenomenal option for guests looking for something in the Greek Isles that is all inclusive. So just keep in mind that we do have these. Again, like I said, not as many details on these properties because I haven't had a chance to experience them. We don't have a large percentage of guests from North America traveling to these resorts comparative to Mexico and the Caribbean. So it just aren't ones that I've immersed myself in quite the same way. So sorry I don't have as many personal anecdotes on these. Nonetheless, there's additional information, again, on the Hilton Content Hub. So that's an area where you can go and find more about that. So now, of course, what is the newest and shiniest object in the collection? And it's the one that I tend to close with. It is, of course, the one that's also going to be the subject of our prize giveaway here for all of you attendees today. And it is the Zemi Miches Punta Cana All-Inclusive Resort another one of our Curio Collection brands, and really truly setting the new benchmark for what Hilton All Inclusive is capable of. So you'll see the resort stat sheet right here. This is a picture that's been all over travel trade and media and presentations and everything. So you've probably seen this. Is still a render, but this, of course, is not. So we've got a lot of the photos done. I'll show you some more images here as we go through. This resort is a brand new build that just opened and premiered in June 30th. We're in the process of dialing in all the rest of the items, like our bowling alley and water park for the children. This will be all of these amenities will be fully stocked and in place by the end of the year. But this one I obviously opened in late what was it, early summer, late spring, June 30th. Very moderate in size. I have had a chance to see this property, and it is truly stunning. You get that amazing sense of arrival when you get there. I'll show you in a moment. But you can see here the resort layout. At 500 rooms, it is not like completely sprawled out, but it's a nice separation from building to building. Most of the centrally located things right in here, where we've got our main restaurants, main pool complexes, and even our main lobby bar and our Club Azzurre lounge. You'll notice some really unique room categories here. These are our bungalow suites that are coming into inventory now. They have access to not only Club Azzurre, which is kind of like the enclave of the Zemi property, but they also get their own restaurant in Agua. So there's a lot of different amenities here. You'll notice multiple different pool complexes in all of these rooms, many of these rooms rather, looking out over this beautiful beach. But I want to describe a little bit more for those of you unfamiliar with where Miches is located. Okay, so right here you'll see the Punta Cana International Airport. We really just put La Romana on this map as a reference point, but your guests are going to fly into PUJ. It's where most of the flights are coming in from. So a majority of US and Canada accessible to Punta Cana via nonstop or easy connecting flights. I know sometimes a little bit of a haul from the West Coast, but what I can tell you for folks who have been to Punta Cana, and I have been dozens of times in my career here in the all-inclusive sector, the first time seeing Miches, it was like a completely different destination. I had a chance to go here what was it, about 3 or 4 weeks after we opened. We actually hosted a conference there in late July. So the drive was, and I timed it, an hour and a half, very similar to Cancun and Tulum, that same distance, right? But it's all along a main road that gets slightly more rural, but is still very much a main road. And you start to see the topography change. So when you start off here in Punta Cana, that Bavaro, Macau Beach area, very flat, very tropical, beautiful area. Don't get me wrong. But as you start to transition on the drive here, you notice the rolling hills come into play. You notice you see these like fields and farms and things and small towns that you go through. By the time you get up here to Miches, that hour and a half drive is not only beautiful, it's relaxing. Now you've got mountains, panoramic views of the mountains. And our resort is in a premier location inset within this coastal cove where we don't have any issues with sargassum. We really don't get the waves and the current and some of the things that you're used to seeing in many of the beaches of the, because again, it is the Atlantic Ocean along Macau Beach and whatnot. And then you get this beautiful, lessening of light pollution in the evening. So one of the things I noticed, you look up and you just see the sky littered with stars. You can see a few lighted areas of one or two of the other resorts in the region from across the cove area. But it is an absolutely different destination than what you would expect from Punta Cana. So you can sell it as such, sell it with confidence. I implore you, go down, take advantage of our amazing agent rates and opportunities with some of your other suppliers to come down and visit and educate yourself. Look at the social media put out there from some of the other advisors out there, from myself. I mean, they're really great ways for you to see the difference and sell Miches as a destination that is different than Punta Cana. So even though Punta Cana is in the name of the resort, it's extremely important that you understand just how different and how stunning Miches is. Now, as far as the resort, and like I said, I want to give you a sense of visualization so you can see what the resort looks like. This would be a great example of what guests see as they enter our very high-end feeling lobby. Now, again, guests are going to go get great service, go to our main check-in area. If they are Club Azzurre guests, they get swept away to a secluded elevator that takes them up to the second floor for their private check-in. Of course, like I mentioned, the immersion, the culinary aspects. This is something that we paid a great deal of attention to. And one of my favorite things that I really love about this, we actually have a Dominican restaurant on property. So this is It's interesting because in all the years of going down to the Dominican Republic, the one thing I feel like gets lost is that the beautiful Dominican cuisine and culture is not featured here. Not at Zemimiches. The Taino culture, the culture of the locals, the indigenous peoples, and also the local Dominican cuisine is on display, on highlight from many of the different dining venues, but of course our Dominican restaurant. But there's there's Mediterranean Italian. We've got a wonderful kind of food showcase, I would call it. Instead of a buffet or a food hall, it's much more of a culinary showcase. Really high attention to detail paid to the overall culinary experience at Miches. And then here you'll see a view from our Royal Palm rooftop lounge. So this would be for Club Azure and bungalow guests overlooking the rest. But here you start to see what I was talking about. Look at the mountains off in the distance. There's a couple of different little, kind of towns and areas, but you can see how calm the water is, how beautiful the beach is, and how we truly are in a secluded location. You'll see one of our dining venues off here to the side as well. So this would be for open air grill. We've got multiple different pools with swim up bars and regular bars, the main lobby, great wraparound bar down there below, and then this exclusive view with the Infinity Edge pool at our Royal Palm rooftop lounge and pool for Club Azure guests. A few as we close in down here to the bottom, you can also see some really unique settings in and around the pool, even like those areas to sit. We're going to be adding some like fire pits in there. I know I kind of teased that before the video. This gives you another example to just show you how different this area is. But again, Zemimiches, in my humble opinion, has truly set a new precedent for what Hilton All Inclusive is capable of. And I'm so proud that you're one of the first audiences to see some of these new photos from our recent shoot. These photos are available, of course, on something I've been talking about a bit, the Hilton Content Hub. So you can go here to get more images of the resort, more information, e-brochures, the newsletters, a lot of information on our current relevant promos that are out there, and even some additional educational videos on things above and beyond our all-inclusive portfolio. So make sure that you save this website, HiltonContentHub.com, as a favorite. And then one other thing that I wanted to announce here as well before we go to the always energetic Q&A and I turn my camera back on is, of course, the introduction of our Hilton Field sales team. So I'm proud to say that I was able to get 4 of the BDMs here spread across US and Canada help support our efforts, not just in Hilton All Inclusive, but also, of course, in some of our other resorts as well. So they are out there as an extension of our Hilton Field sales team, working closely with all of our wholesale partners. So these are BDMs that we're not going to be blasting out big announcements on these, but they are here to support you. They will start to become more visible out there. We have been hiring and ramping them up over the course of the year. So just keep your eye out. We've got the amazing Valerie Ward in Canada. And then, of course, we have the team of Heather Gregg, our kind of player coach team leader, and then Ari and Marjorie, 2 fantastic BDMs based in the Midwest, East Coast. And hopefully this is something that will really allow you to feel even more supported by us over here at Hilton All Inclusive and Hilton Worldwide Sales. So with that being said, I think I'm going to have to take a breath, maybe even a sip of water, believe it or not. But I'm going to bring Sabrina back in, and I'm sure we've got lots of feedback and questions and things, and we'll try and knock them all out. But guys, thank you so much for the time today. Hopefully you found this, even if you've attended one of my sessions before, you found this interesting. You found some new tidbits, some new things, and again, another beautiful picture here at Zemimiches. So what do you say? I see the emojis flowing through, guys. Thank you so much.
I say it's fantastic. Go ahead, have your carajillo. Just joking. I know you're going to be drinking water. I love
Right.
how you said, and someone asked for the spelling. I did throw that in there for
No,
you.
thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. And anything, all the sort of notes that were in there, little ones, I did respond to as I could. But Ashley, you're so amazing. Actually, an agent said here in the chat, I would love to read this aloud. They said, where is it? See, it gets buried so fast. I wasn't that stoked about Meaches at first because of the long transfer, but this looks really great. Just beautiful,
Yep.
Danielle said. You know
Wonderful.
what? Good things are worth it, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I gotta tell you, I mean, I don't in any way feel as though I'm overselling this. I actually use an example. We had one of our monthly meetings earlier today, and the example was basically it's like testimonials, right? Like, how do you back what we say as sales folks that work for the company, and how can we translate some of the personal experiences that you guys have at these resorts? How can we do that? I was actually at Delta Vacations University a week or so ago, and in the classroom session, we had one of our partners. If you guys go to like the travel market shows and things like that as well, Brian was in the room, Brian Israel, and he had just been to Zemi Beaches like a week or so prior. And I said, Brian, would you mind as I'm talking about Zemi, I'll kind of pause for a minute and take your feedback. And he was like, absolutely. So as I'm talking about it and giving this presentation in the classroom, he then added some of his own personal experience of how blown away he was by the culinary aspects, the layout, the beauty, and the kind of the luxury upmarket feel of the resort. So even though I'm kind of channeling, another person's feedback there, I love the fact that, we can pull from that. Guys, go experience it. Like I said, take a look. I want you to go out there and take a look at some of your colleagues' social media if they've had a chance to go down for a conference or a meeting or, taking advantage of an advisor rate. It is really a unique destination. I was blown away. I was hearing people that were seasoned veterans in the industry selling all inclusive for decades saying it reminded them of St. Lucia or it reminded them of Hawaii. So we're really excited about this, and it is a major up and coming destination you'll be hearing more and more about in the months and years to come.
Oh, it's amazing. And honestly, if you guys could just read through the chat, you'd see all this phenomenal feedback about so many of your travel advisor colleagues that have had those experiences. I've got quite a few questions to get through, of course. So if you need to run, because we know you're just going to go and book those Hilton all-inclusives, we forgive you, right, Ashley?
Absolutely. Apology accepted. You run and book them right
Yeah,
now.
go ahead. But actually, if you have some minutes, I know there's only 10 minutes left in the webinar, but we do have a few questions, a couple
No,
dozen at
let's
least. Is
get
that
to
all
them.
right?
I'd love
Okay,
to. Yeah, let's do it live, as they
wonderful.
say.
Thank you for allowing us so much of your time. I know you're very busy. So are all the Mexico resorts at the Mexico properties, are they all mangrove beaches?
Uh, hey, hmm. um, you're saying the let's get some clarity on that because I'm not
Yeah.
sure exactly what we mean. There's a little bit of branding confusion in there. If you're saying that are the resorts set amongst the mangroves, um, I mean, if we're talking about Tulum and Cancun and pretty much anywhere in the Riviera Maya, all of those would basically used to be or are mangroves that go up to the beach. That's what that whole area of coastline looks like. I hope that answers your question. I don't think we're talking about confusion between the actual mangrove beach and Curacao, which is the
No,
name
this
of
was
that
way
property.
earlier. So I
Got it.
don't think
Okay.
so. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Okay.
I mean, so you've got like the natural like inset coves in Tulum, and then the beach in the area where Hilton Cancun is. To give you reference, our neighbor directly to the south is the Royalton complex, and then directly to the north of us would be the Haven, and then eventually the Moon Palace. So if that helps you frame where
Hmm.
those resorts are located, yeah.
Okay. And is the Enclave geared more as an adults only experience or not so much?
No, it's really just a more exclusive amenity and experience heavy kind of club level. So I recommend it for families, probably even more so because you get in from maybe a long flight, transfer time, travel day, whatever it may be, to be whisked off to like a private lounge and seated down for like kind of a private check-in and then have someone on WhatsApp to be able to help with little things here and there is a real game changer, especially when traveling with kiddos. So no, it is not exclusive to adults. In fact, it's more geared probably towards families as well as any adult oriented, travelers.
Okay. And is there any exchange privileges between Cancun and Mar Caribe for restaurants?
There is not. However, one neat thing that we took advantage of at Hilton Cancun was a free shuttle up to La Isla. So I know we were there for a week. We offer a shuttle that leaves every couple hours and it just basically drops you off at the Canopy, which is a Hilton hotel. It's not all inclusive, but it's right at the La Isla Mall. So if you wanted to go up to the hotel zone from Hilton Cancun, you have the ability to do that via the shuttle and then they have a time they just go right back over to the hotel. It's all walking distance and everything and it gives you the ability to get up there to the hotel zone.
And La Isla is this big open air
Yes.
shopping center, which is just gorgeous.
Yeah,
Okay.
really cool. Got the big Ferris wheel there and everything
All
too.
kinds of stuff now. Every time I go, it's something new. I can't keep up. Okay. Does the barrier keep rough water out and away from the beach at Hilton Cancun?
To an extent. I mean, it's not like a rock barrier, so it's more of like a netting thing that kind of, goes out. So if there was like really that beach is not a rough water beach anyway. Unless you had like a storm off the coast, it's generally very calm. And what's interesting is for those who know that area, it's always kind of been known for like kind of seagrass and the water's not quite as clear as what you'd expect in the hotel zone. But it's honestly very predictable and swimmable, nice beach area. Um, it's just that, when we get that seasonal sargassum, you kind of want some of those assurances to your clients that there's not going to be as much of an issue. And that was a significant investment by the owner of that particular property to make sure that it was all the way down. But I was blown away because we had a room that looked out. I could kind of see both sides of the property. And if you looked at either end of the resort, I know I'm kind of out in the neighbors here because I did mention, but regardless, on either end of our property, it was dramatically different how much sargassum and seaweed was gathering on the beach. Granted, any that makes it through, our team does a good job of kind of whisking that away as well, but it's a game changer, especially in that region. Yeah.
Of course. And then are there renovations planned at Tulum, possible beach club maybe?
Uh, well, we have the enclave there. I'm not sure about a beach club per se. I mean, the resort's only about 3 years old, so I mean, we're constantly doing little enhancements here and there, but it definitely
Hmm.
wouldn't need any kind of a renovation. I mean, we're one of the newest resort complexes in the industry.
I
I mean,
thought so.
yeah,
Okay.
you're talking about Hilton Cancun being just celebrating its 4 year anniversary as a brand new build. Tulum, the 3 year anniversary. You've got Mangrove Beach is probably, as far as an asset goes, one of the older ones, and that dates back maybe to 2020-ish. The Reef
Okay.
is again new within the last year. Zemi Beach is even newer, and then Hilton Cancun Mar Caribe. That entered our portfolio about 2 years ago, but that was an almost $100 million gutting renovation by that whole area. So that essentially shows like a very, very up to date and newer resort as well.
Okay. And do you have a shuttle from the Tulum property to Tulum, like proper at all?
We do not. No, we do not.
Okay.
That there you have to do like an excursion or a cab. I would say it almost makes more sense to recommend pre-booking like a Tulum downtown excursion for your guests and getting some kind of a commissionable sale on that because the taxis in that region are not as abundant as they are up in the hotel zone, so they're
Hmm.
significantly more expensive.
Yeah.
So a personal recommendation would be if guests want to go do Tulum and get their Instagram photos for the day and pose with that big vine lady or whatever it is on you see on Instagram all the time. Set them up on an excursion ahead of time. We did the Tulum ruins, and it was about nonstop transfer. We were there in like 10 minutes from the resort.
Yeah.
Downtown Tulum is about 20 to 25, depending upon what section.
Okay. And does the group promo include golf and tennis groups?
Well, wouldn't include those activities, but if you wanted to build a golf or tennis group around there, you would have to add the supplement and whatever the cost would be. We have a public access partnership with the Tulum Country Club, for instance. Some of our resorts that are a little bit closer, like if you were at Cancun Mar Caribe, the Iberia Star Golf Course that's there in the hotel zone, it's the only golf course in the hotel zone, is, to my knowledge, a public golf course. So guests would, depending upon the location, be able to do that. Zemi Beaches, there's really no golf course in the region. That's not really what that destination's about. It's a bit more about the cultural immersion and kind of that untouched, beautiful landscape. So it really depends. But you could build a social group around anything. The main thing is $500 deposit for a group up to 39 rooms and a comp for every 5 rooms booked. Guys, that promo is probably going to end, as I said. I don't think we're going to extend it. So there's a month left on it to put the deposit down, but they could travel through the entirety of next year. So definitely
Wow.
take advantage of that if you have the opportunity. Yeah,
Yeah, the chat was blowing up on that. So, so generous. What a great offer. So Constance here in Zoom. Hi, Constance, was wondering on the first property that you showed, is the beach swimmable?
absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, swimmable and also non-motorized water sports. Yep.
Okay. And then let me see from Taryn, because I had to go back sometimes and say, which property is this for? Let me see, Taryn, if you got back to me, because I'm
Excuse me.
sorry. I don't, yeah, my brain is not that smart to remember.
Stop.
Um, Taryn, if you can hear me, please just put in again which property you wanted to know how far it was from the hotel zone, if you don't mind. That was about 20 minutes in. So Neil and all of our friends are asking about TA rates and wondering if there's a 50% off rates in Mexico at all during 2026.
So we are actually doing the 50% off. That's a great call out, Neil. Thank you, my friend. Yes, we are doing 50% off rates at a number of the resorts there and through It's connected through the content hub. You can navigate to it, but I tell you what I'll do. Should I put it in the chat perhaps?
Yeah, you should,
It's yeah, here we go.
because
It's
I'll
the
just
other one
be
is
blasting that everywhere for you.
no, that's
That's
okay. Here's
great.
on this. All right, here we go.
And I
Let's
do
get it
have the
to
Content
everybody.
Hub link right here.
And this is linked on our page as well, but it's travel on our spoiled agent landing page as well, but travelagents.hilton.com, and then you just scroll down on that page and you'll see an area that says like travel advisor rates. You click on that and check again. These are going to be subject to availability, guys. So if you're checking it during like a holiday time period or a time where the hotel's showing, everything is dynamic, but generally speaking, we are offering at Hilton Cancun, Hilton Tulum, and Hilton Vallarta Riviera 50% off. Rates are currently active and in there, as long as they're available.
Okay. And I'll throw a direct link in there that you can click on too.
Love
Forgive
it.
the look of it, but it takes me right away to say where to. And I love that. You can put your destination in and find a plethora of amazing offers. Great
Love it.
question. Okay. I'd love, next question. I'd love to experience the all new Cancun and Tulum resorts in 2026. Maybe an Ashley fam, question mark.
Yeah, perhaps. No, good call out again, Neil. I mean, one of the things that the BDM team allows us to do, because I've been trying to kind of hold down the fort for North America here the past couple of years, is increase the bandwidth for us to be able to do more FAMs. So whether it would be one that's hosted by me, hosted by Gina, or by the new team, part of our ramp up process as we get them solidified in this year is to be able to provide some FAM opportunities, maybe 1 to 2 per territory across the board. So it will provide above and beyond what we have available. Again, I make no promises. Everything's based on availability and calendars and whatnot, but we're trying. We're trying to give you more opportunities at FAMs 100%. And anytime we get to see you would be great.
Okay, wonderful. And I'm so sorry, I failed to mention that if you had, I think I said, of course, if you had to run, go ahead. But just so you all know, you're qualified for the prize as soon as you've hit the end of the presentation. And this is just the Q&A portion. So if you have to run, we understand, and the winner will be announced next week. So my next question, are the staff trained for interacting with autistic children and teens, or is it specific programming offered for them at any of your Mexico resorts?
So we don't have specific programming or like training certification programs for autistic children or some of the special needs children, but we do our best to train our staff to be able to handle a lots of different types of children's needs and scenarios and things like that. In my experience, and again, this was a highly the example that I used. The young man was a high functioning autistic, but he had some sensory things and whatnot. And again, I think our staff does the best that they can to provide a very inclusive experience. They had mentioned, and one of the other things it gives me the opportunity to talk about is any kind of food-based needs and things like that. We are real leaders in that space as well. I mean, almost to a point where you get tired of saying, I don't, either I do or I don't. These are my food-related dietary restrictions or needs or whatever it may be. That is something that all of our teams can accommodate. And I've many examples of them going above and beyond in that regard. It's a great question. I wish I could say that we were specifically certified in certain areas. I know that's something we're always looking at trying to improve upon. So, and if ever there's a specific case where you want to check with, our resort teams, everything, you can always reach out to myself or the team. We can get you connected with the properties on site and really kind of go over what those client needs might be to make sure that we can accommodate.
Okay, great. And if you want to, you could go back to that BDM slide so that they can see that, or the sales team, if that's helpful, or I can pop your email in the chat, whatever works best for you,
Yeah, pop the
Ashley.
email in there for sure.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Okay. If you have a family who normally books kid-friendly, cheap and cheerful resorts, and you're hoping to transition them to more sophisticated family options, which of your all-inclusives would you name as the lead in or starter Hilton property? Great question.
Gosh, that is a great question. I mean, it's really going to depend on a couple factors, right? I mean, I would always tend to lean towards our Mexico resorts and then just kind of pick whichever one of those would be best in terms of whether they're closer to the West Coast, the East Coast, and whatnot. Because you're getting the most well-rounded value there and you get a number of different choices in the region, right? So if they were really like focused on the look and feel of the beach, then maybe Hotel Zone. There isn't going to be one per se that just jumps out and it's like that would be the place to go. And then also it's price point, right? I mean, like we tend to see that Hilton Cancun Mar Caribe tends to command a little bit higher price point because leading category rooms are going to be ocean view, ocean front. It's prime location in the hotel zone. Whereas maybe even though Hilton Vallarta Riviera is a beautiful resort that I said I'm going to personally in November with the family, tends to price a little bit more favorably on average. So it's how much can they budget for and transition up to? I think would be a great portfolio to help give you that transition. And it goes both ways. It gives me a good talking or jumping off point for guests that are luxury clients. I mean, that are more used to like the EP experience, but might be interested in trying an all inclusive. Enclave gives them a great entry point where they still kind of get a little bit of the best of both worlds. They get an all inclusive experience at a more with a little bit more exclusivity there too. So we can kind of look at it both ways. I hope that I sorry if that doesn't answer your question with like it's this hotel, but gives you some guidance on where to go with that. Great question though.
Okay, and I do have clarification that the Hilton Cancun was the one that they were asking about how close it is to the hotel zone. I know you
Mhm.
mentioned that, but if you don't mind sharing that again, please.
What was it again?
The Hilton Cancun, how far it is from the hotel
Oh yeah,
zone.
the Hilton Cancun is 15 minutes from the Cancun airport, and then I'd say maybe depending upon what area in the hotel zone, 25 to 30 minutes. I'd say it's about 30 minutes from Hilton Cancun Marquee Bay to Hilton Cancun, south of the airport.
And then one of the most popular questions, I think, is still in the top five that we get here and on our webinars. Guess what it is? Has to do with a crunchy snack. Is there pickleball at the resorts in Punta Cana?
Oh, I was like a crunchy snap. Where is this going? I was like, if you say churros, I'm like, I'm pretty sure I covered that. Yeah, so we do have pickleball courts at Zemi Beach, or have a pickleball court at Zemi Beaches. Our other resorts do not have those. I know we still are getting a lot of questions. We may or may not be able to add those to some of the resorts, but we understand the value of pickleball right now. It's quite the hot thing, and it's another great way to build a group around it, right? So Zemi Beaches does have a pickleball court, and that's one you can start a pickleball group. Take advantage of it. $500 deposit.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And do you have any beaches that are not swimmable?
That are not swimmable.
I don't think so. Well, maybe in Europe.
No, 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 no. We don't. Yeah, I mean, no, all of them are swimmable. Yeah.
Okay. And then do we have a booking quota in order to participate in a FAM?
So ideally, we still are we since we don't have a registration program per se or anything to kind of track booking partnership level and whatnot. It's really just going to be an open conversation with us in terms of, what is your overall production level? Are you selling a lot in our space and so on and so forth? Because we have such limited spots on FAMs, we really have to try to be strategic to work with partners that are excelling in the space or have the ability to excel. But again, we're professionals here, happy to have a conversation with you if it, and figure out if it's the right fit and if, and offer alternatives and things like that as well. But great question.
Okay. And then I've got a question about the sales team contact information. So I'm going to
Hmm.
make sure I've just put that in the chat, sending
Wonderful.
that
Thank you.
over on Facebook as well. And guys, anytime you ever wonder, it's always going to be on the supplier page. So if we're doing a session, it's 99.99% of the time that they have a supplier page with us. Of course, and this is no exception. We've got some great information on there and links to lots of the fabulous things that Ashley has mentioned, including the Content Hub. And someone asked, how do we book the advisor rates and are they on the hub? Speaking of
Yeah,
that.
so the hub is going to be for all content. The travel agents at Hilton.com that I myself and Sabrina put the link in, which is also you're able to navigate to that from the Hilton Content Hub. That is where you'll actually make the advisor rate bookings.
Okay, perfect. And yeah, I'll throw spoiled agent in there again, so you have all of those different ones. Um, the next thing that was asked was it's somewhere around here. Can Waldorf EP guests pay a day rate or day pass to access next door?
So they can. It's going to be based on availability. I don't have a cost offhand there, but if you did have guests that were staying at the Waldorf and would want to come over, obviously, as you know, all inclusive food and beverage included rates, so they would need to purchase a day pass that would include all those things. But yes, that is an option. And then as far as just to answer follow up, if guests are staying at the all inclusive and they wanted to go over, they can make dining or like reservations arrangements to have dinner at one of the restaurants at say the Waldorf Riviera Maya if they're staying in Cancun or at the Conrad Riviera Maya if they're staying at Tulum. So there is also, it kind of gives you that off-site, on-site value add above and beyond the, the ability to do spa treatments at those luxury resorts as well.
Okay, perfecto. Did Hilton sell Hilton La Romana because they opened a new resort, Zememiches?
Completely unconnected. So actually, Hilton La Romana and all of the resorts that the few that were in our portfolio that had been purchased were actually owned and operated by Playa Hotels and Resorts. We were a franchise brand partner of theirs dating back to before my time at Hilton, and they decided to sell their assets to Hyatt. So that's why they're no longer branded as Hilton, because that would be kind of crazy. But that's kind of the quickest way I can explain what happened there. And at the end of the day, it's like I say, it's a bit easier for us to talk about our portfolio now, a little bit less confusion in the market. So I would say in the end, a net positive.
Okay. And I received a question that I was sort of digging, and I think I found one through TA Connect. Is there a Hilton all-inclusive newsletter that we can be added to for more information and
There
or in person?
absolutely is. And that is one that should be accessible through the Hilton Content Hub as well. So you'll notice on Hilton Content Hub, there's an area to find our newsletters, and there you can be added to that's the way to do it, especially for our Canadian friends where I know there's some pretty stringent rules around,
Yep.
email marketing and things like that. Please venture to the Hilton Content Hub and find that sign up for our email newsletter. It would actually come from our business to business marketing team. So it's a nice clean newsletter. We don't fill your inbox like every couple days. This is like an every few months type scenario. But really great content. Please do sign up for that because it's a great way for us to communicate with you.
Okay, and I love this next one. I don't know if it's a question or a statement. Is Curacao the most LGBTQ friendly island in the Caribbean? Or it has an
Neil.
exclamation.
I was gonna
So
say,
I don't
Neil,
know.
chime in here. I think it's a statement, and I can't say for sure it's like the most friendly, but I know that it is quite LGBTQ friendly. So Neil can probably verify that that was in fact an excited statement as to a question. But regardless, love it either way.
Yes. Okay. I have clients looking at Curacao. They prefer lesser crowds. Is there a shoulder season that might better meet their needs?
Yeah, I mean, shoulder season is still generally going to tend to be the same as it is in most of our other destinations. That time after the spring break period, but before kids are out of school, and then the time when kids first go back to school, avoiding obviously any fall holidays, but leading up to that early December time period. I mean, as far as weather, it's pretty stable down there. I mean, it does. I was surprised how hot it gets because I thought there'd be like more of an ocean breeze, but it was. I was there in around this time last year, and it was cooking, but really neat island.
Okay. Can you talk more about the kid-friendly aspects in Curacao? Clients
Yeah,
have a
you know what? That's a great
nine-year-old.
call out. I kind of glossed over that. So we actually have not only is there like great like kind of grab and go food and fun stuff and everything from the eat more on the mangrove side than the reef side. But we also have a full-blown water park there. Like it's not it's funny because there's certain things I go through and try to do these overviews where sometimes a photo will prompt me on what I talk about. And the photo that we're using right now doesn't feature it as much, but there's a water park that's great for kids and adults at Curacao. It's on the mangrove side, but again, guests, I would recommend you book your guests at the reef. They'd still have the ability to just walk right over, and it's all one very complex or concentrated complex. So it's not like if you're staying at the reef, it's hard to get over to the mangrove. They're right there.
Okay. And what was the cool living?
So that was the essentially the name of like our enclave section at the Domus Resort. So the Domus in Crete, Greece that I talked about, they refer to their kind of club level room categories as cool living. So again, like I said, each one of those Curio Collection resorts, they have the ability to do some more creative naming, rules and things with their products. So that's why it's a different name. But I wanted to call it out nonetheless because if you were scrolling through and taking a look at room categories like what's cool living, it's going to be our club level type elevated experience there at Domus.
Okay. And next one up, how far is Zemi from the Punta Cana airport?
Yeah,
Puj,
always
that's
happy
Punta
to
Cana,
that
yes.
one's, yep, Punta Cana Airport. It's an hour and a half nonstop transfer, and I did verify that. I mean that was how long it took for me to get there.
And I want to say, just like you said, I'll piggyback on the sort of collaborating with others and their experience. I just wish everybody, we could all be in a room together for these presentations all the time because that's me and I love these things. But okay, we're here from a distance. And so one of our amazing stars in the US, Laura, mentions, just so you know, Neil, and anyone else wondering, Miches has so much more to do than Punta Cana, the swing at Montana Redonda, the waterfalls, hikes, zip lines, and horseback. So I just wanted to share from another agent perspective. That's great feedback because it's all helpful, for our wonderful industry. And then the
Wonderful.
next
Thank
one
you.
is, yeah, which of the resorts offers the longest stretch of walkable beach?
Longest stretch of walkable beach. Well, I mean, if you were saying, yeah, I would probably say the Hilton Cancun Mar Caribe, only because it's in the hotel zone. And that's, I mean, all these areas, they're public beaches. Some of it is just like geographic access and everything like that. But if you're talking about an area where it's just pretty much secured the whole way along the coast, you'd be walking in front of a lot of other resorts and things like that. But I mean, I would honestly say the hotel zone is going to be that area. A lot of the others are relatively secluded beaches where there's not a lot of access from one side to the other. So even though they're nice and walkable, Hilton Cancun would be a close second. But like I said, I mean, in some of the areas when you get that seasonal sargassum, some of the areas north or south of our property might not be quite as pleasant of a beach walk as in front of our property. So I would go with the hotel zone. Great question.
Okay. And just to close that circle on Curacao, it is very LGBTQ friendly. Neil says yet to experience it in person.
Love it.
And thank you, Laura, for that feedback. Are you still offering the 50% off the TA intro offer for Miches?
Meaches is still, I don't know exactly what the percentage is. It's probably about that. I believe it was even maybe like a flat amount. Should again be available through the TA advisor rate booking portal, but it would be at least a 50% off rate. That's kind of what we do for all new openings at Hilton when it's a new property opening within the first. I know we're pretty much at 6 months, so that's why that question came up. But we are still offering a reduced agent rate, advisor rate for Zemi Meaches. Yes, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I see. It's an honors opening offer. So if we want to go today, let's go, guys.
There we go.
That's right there and available. I also love, and I want to point this out because this came up on a webinar the other day. There's one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, including true types of ID that are accepted
Nice.
when you make your booking. Sometimes that's important for the agents to know. For the restaurants on Zimi Beaches and other properties, are reservations recommended or required? I think you said no, but go ahead.
Correct. Yeah, not required. I would say recommended. It all depends. Like if your clients are real sticklers at making sure that they're having dinner exactly at 7 o'clock, or they have a larger party, strong recommendation for dining reservations. If not, and they're a little more flexible and whatnot, I mean, we definitely take walk-ins as well. As far as dress code goes, it's generally going to be like resort. I would say somewhere between resort casual, resort chic. I have not seen like really hardcore. Enforcement of any kind of dress code. I know some resorts get a little more aggressive about it has to be pants and things like that. I would always recommend, and I can only speak from a guy's perspective, like bring the pants, guys. Just bring a pair of pants for God's sakes. You know what I mean? It's not a bad idea to have them just in case. But generally speaking, like nicer shorts and sandals and a polo or something is more than enough for any of the dining venues and what I've seen. So we try to be pretty open with that.
And then you've got a whole bunch of fact sheets on Spoiled Agents. So I bet you some of that stuff will be in there
Yeah,
too, right? If agents want to get that info, that's
very
a
well
quick
met.
way other than emailing the property. You've got a plethora of great resources here and probably in the content hub too. Will there be any fam trips available soon? Would love to see this area of the DR.
Yeah, and that's one that I kind of alluded to earlier. So we're trying to get more of a the calendar or opportunities out there for you guys as we roll into next year. So probably not much through the end of this year since we're already going to be hitting quarter 4 tomorrow. But yeah, that's the plan. Now that we're getting that team up and running, hopefully we'll provide, each territory, a couple FAMs a year would be the ideal target, and it's going to be mostly to our all-inclusive resorts for sure.
Okay, our community is the best. One's asking a question in Facebook, the other one is saying it writing it in Zoom. The Facebook ones are complimenting the questions asked in Zoom. They're chiming in on YouTube. I need
Love
more
it.
arms, but
Well, I tell you
okay.
what, I can see the ones on Zoom. So I see there's about seven left. I can knock these out if we want to do a speed
Oh
round. I
no,
can
it's
run.
all I'm teasing you. I just love the community. It's more
Yeah.
just little comments that go
No,
back
I
and
love
forth.
it. I love it. Are you kidding me? This is fantastic. I always now, after my first one or two mega sessions, I realize like I'm going to give as much time to you guys as you want because this interaction is what it's all about. It is tough when we, yeah, and Sabrina, you know this, right? Like trying to get that energy and feel it from, the sitting in my little home office here or whatever, especially for someone who has been on a number of different stages over the course of my career and really love the energy that I get from a live audience. This is like the closest thing I can get. So I honestly I love it. And I mean if it means the Q&A and the answer the questions coming through from all over, this is great. So thank you guys.
That's
Really do appreciate it.
wonderful. We still
Yeah.
have quite a few agents on, so thank you and thanks for making time to do this.
Of
Do
course.
you remember being on property? Have you seen like maps and legends around, especially for maybe some of those that are bigger that sort of show
Yeah, so
around the
yes, yeah. For
property?
some of the larger properties, I mean, you don't need it as much at say a Hilton Cancun. It's relatively concentrated. I know for sure we have them in a couple different locations in Tulum. I don't recall seeing them at Zemi Beaches. But I wouldn't be surprised if that's something that if we don't already have up, we would implement later as that resort continues to kind of dial in. And speaking of which, I see one of the questions here. We don't have a casino there, and I don't think we have any plans to do a casino at Zemi. There are definitely properties that are very casino oriented in the destination. That's not really kind of the vibe we're going after there. And I've seen some of the ones that are added as an afterthought, not just in DR, but in some of these other Caribbean locales. And I mean, let's be honest, it's probably easier to just log into DraftKings when you get home, but.
There you go. This is another great question because I feel like the answer is an amazing one. Are there easy solutions for transfers from Punta
Ooh,
Cana to Miches from Pooch? My clients are not
yeah.
necessarily keen on driving themselves. Like, is that
Oh, for
the only,
sure. No, no, no.
that's
So,
what I
okay.
wanted to say. Yeah.
So the main transfer companies are absolutely set up to be able to handle transfers. The only downside right now is the cost. It's a little bit higher on average to get a transfer there because you're not necessarily going to have like these transfer companies not going to have the van sitting and waiting at the resort to do. So a lot of stuff requires like you got to go from the main area round trip up. And so, the cost will be a little bit higher associated with that. Keep that in mind as well when you're looking at the package costs. It's almost like if you live in an area that has higher average airfares, your package cost is going to be higher, and the more people that you have to buy an air ticket for, the higher it goes, right? That does factor in a little bit with Miches, but when I tell you that it is, in my opinion, it is worth it. Because it is such a rewarding destination and it's you're getting to kind of see it earlier, that will only improve with time. I mean, that is one thing I can say with quite a bit of confidence is that the longer that we've got resorts in these locations and the longer that these amazing DMCs can kind of ramp up their efforts and possibly even put some satellite, locations in and around there, it will get better. But it is available though. I mean, any of the main transfer, I don't want to necessarily give, specific alignment to one or another, but most of your main recognized DMCs in Punta Cana do provide the nonstop transfers. And by the way, guys, nonstop transfers, it's always the way to go.
Of course.
It is such a negligible cost even if you're doing a budget trip, which is not necessarily our hotel. I speak for all, I just don't, they never want to stop at another resort. It's like one of the worst things. I mean, and it's going to probably set them off on the wrong foot. So please book the nonstop transfers. I can't stress.
Also, if it's a nonstop transfer, it's yours. So I'm always like, hey, dude, you want a Coca-Cola and some churros? Me too. Let's stop on the way.
Love it.
Can we
Love it.
pull
Yeah,
over?
love it.
That's totally how I do my
Totally
private
on
transfer.
brand. I love that. That is so
Yes.
great. Yes.
Do the resorts, now we got to knock a few out here just because a lot of our agents have a similar question. A few of them do. Do the resorts have beach wheelchairs for those with mobility issues? And can you just speak about mobility accessibility in general throughout the
Absolutely.
properties?
I think that's always a great one that comes up. So all of our resorts are like fully accessible. I mean, I can't say on record that they're like built to like an ADA standard, and especially when you're talking about retrofitting an older structure like a Cancun Mar Caribe, for instance, which again is like a new resort because of the what we did there. But one thing that I noticed is like even upon arrival there, you've kind of got an area with some steps at the main lobby. There's an actual wheelchair elevator lift and everything there. We have ramp access and elevators. To essentially you can get to every single area of pretty much all of our resorts and even ramps down and around the pools and whatnot. As far as specifically like the beach wheelchairs, that's a little bit trickier because that would be like a special equipment. We'd probably have to go to a third party to rent something like that. I have not seen that we have that type of equipment on property at any of our resorts, but there are trusted vendors in each of these destinations that can provide those, and that would be something even to lean into a little bit, either our teams on property or your trusted DMCs or the tour operators that have a lot of presence in these regions to kind of help guide you through adding some of those on. And that's always something you can work directly with us on for guests that have those mobility needs as well.
Yeah, you'll find Cancun Riviera Maya very, very established. I can speak to that personally with lots of fantastic services. We have a couple more. Are you offering TA booking bonuses?
Yeah, so the ideal scenario would be to have some bonuses that are more relevant to our segment. The only one that we offer currently, and it is on our landing page of Spoiled Agent, is unlimited rewards. That, however, is more designed for like high volume business travel sales. That is a program that Hilton's had before we started this whole all inclusive portfolio a few years ago. When I talk about it being like if you're selling a lot of the, maybe domestic or regional business travel, you're making it in small portions, but it's not really as competitive and it's only available for direct sales or sales through the global distribution system. So definitely not geared for our general advisor segment. That being said, we're gaining a lot of momentum internally around getting more robust registration programs and agency partnership systems and things built up for the advisor community. It's a lot of work that goes into that at a company that has over 9,000 hotels. You need to consider all sorts of different markets and segments, and it's not something that's as easy to launch than if you're, say, a family-owned company that has 7 resorts. So bear with us because I know that has been a question I've gotten a lot. It's moving forward. I'm a very loud and probably at times annoying voice in regards to this and how important it is for our segment. So I hope that whether it's in 2026 or slightly after, maybe sometime next year, that we'll have some good news for you guys. Thanks for asking the question, though. I appreciate it, Neil.
Of course. And do any of the properties have a water park for adults?
Yeah, so definitely the Mangrove Beach Reef would have one, and then you also are going to see us be adding that asset to the Zemi Beaches Resort as well. It's not quite up and running as of yet, but on the more family-oriented side of the property, our plans are to have a water park. I'm not talking about like massive lazy river and all that stuff, but you're going to have a mix of water slides that both adults and children can enjoy. The rest of our properties, they're more geared towards the younger kids, admittedly. Well, I would consider them more like splash parks or splash pads than I would water parks. Yeah, but great question.
Okay, sounds good. Wow, so many great things about the DR we've learned today and all
Yes.
the future and what's coming and how beautiful it is. Well, I think that we covered it. Ashley, it's unbelievable. You're gonna have to have a nap after this. Well, hopefully not, but
I got to at least go get a drink of water. I'm glad my voice remained strong throughout this. But guys, this is awesome. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm not saying this just to say it. I love the interaction. No one does it like the Spoiled Agent crew. Really, I'm serious. The agents and you guys, it's awesome.
well, thank you. We have a great, great, great time, and it's not really hard having such fabulous partners and product like what you're offering. The agents are just coming back absolutely so elated about the client feedback and the things that, plus you're participating in all of our contests and spoiling them, and you're always supporting them. And then not only, but you've got this fantastic product that they get to send their clients to and get repeat business because it makes them look so good, right?
Well,
So
thank
thank
you.
you for that, Ashley. If you have any final words, we will let you go on, everyone, with your day so everyone can get booking the Hilton all-inclusive portfolio you learned about today. And that's it from my
Yeah.
side. Anything to
No, same. I couldn't say it better, my friend. Thank you so much for having us as well. It's always a pleasure. The best thing you can do is just to send that support, make the bookings, let me know what's going on out there, communicate. Hope that I see you around the bend. And thank you guys all for attending today. Really, really appreciate the partnership.
Wonderful. Everyone have a beautiful rest of your day, and we hope to see you again on a webinar really soon. Bye for now.